You want to pick always the best heroes. In this direct strike hero tier list, I show you the broken shit. Let's start with the human heroes. The Paladin is clear OP tier in my opinion, cause the healing is super strong on the first waves. He really scales super well with the Divine Shield, and giving your whole army armor is just pretty insane. The Mountain King is also pretty strong, especially in the early game. You have some really good anti-frontliner abilities. His Q with the hammer is just stunning, really reliable. It makes it hard for them to channel any abilities. Archmage is something that a lot of people would call like super OP tier. I think he's a good hero, but not really that crazy strong because you can simply outposition him. The Blood Mage is kind of similar to the Archmage. He's a bit weaker because he has no summon and also no aura. The Undead heroes. Death Knight is one of the weaker heroes in the game. His Q is decent. The W can be also interesting. It's quite strong to eat minions early on, but the more the game prolongs, the weaker the W gets, which is like his biggest advantage. Lich is also something what a lot of people would call really heavy tier. I think the Lich is definitely a good one because he has like a really high DPS, especially early on in the game. The Nova early on is also very strong, but his WE and also the ultimate is not really scaling well. Dreadlord, one of my favorites, guys. For me, the Dreadlord is clear OP tier 2, like the Paladin, because he has an insane aura. The Q of the Crypt Swarm is honestly pretty crazy. The ultimate with the Infernal give you a mini stun, and also with the sleep, you can cancel channel abilities. Cryptlord is also for sure a good or even very good hero. His Impale is also insane, to be honest. You can also skill the Beetles, because they will also be really good summons. The Orc heroes. Blade Master, one of the weakest hero in the game in my opinion. Don't pick this guy. Farseer is, for me at the moment for sure, the fucking best hero in the game. His skill set is just pretty crazy. You always start with the Farseer with the Q. You don't skill Wolves, guys, because Wolves will just be strong on level 1. But then the enemy gets this spell and then your wolves are useless. So you go level 1 Q, then W, then Q, level 6 ultimate, that you have simply a really unfair damage output on him. The Tauren Chieftain is a bad first hero, but a really good second hero. The aura is very beneficial if you have already a good army. So he's more of a support hero. Shadowhunter, also a very strong hero. I would rate him S tier. Shadowhunter is not that strong in the early game, but he scales really well in mid to late game. And you also can stack with him really nice waves. Snakes are also giving you some additional damage. And Big Bad Voodoo. This can be a real game changer. You need to itemize him a bit to get tankier. You can also pair this with Invis, that the enemy can't hit him. The Night Elf heroes. Keeper of the Light can be really strong or really weak. His strength is obviously the Trend Summon, but it's also his biggest weakness. So if the enemy doesn't have any Dispel, then he will wreck anything. But if the enemy has Dispel, then he's pretty useless. The Demon Hunter is a really good early game hero. The Immolation on level 1 are giving you really high damage. And also level 2 and 3 Evasion gives you a lot of sustain. The Priest of the Moon, also a way better second than first hero, because the aura also shines the most when you have already an army. Starfall is pretty high damage output. Silence can be situationally good. The Warden is kind of weak in the first 2 levels. You kind of need to make sure that you level fast and have an advantage on the board. In the mid to late game, Warden gets a real beast with the Blink ability, with the ultimate. In addition, you always want to have, if you play Warden, some healing. She's also really good with his Blink ability to stack waves. The Terran heroes. Firelord is, in my opinion, also one of the best summon heroes, because his summons are actually not in the front line, which makes it really hard for the enemy to dispel them in the early game if you have a good front line. His ultimate is basically destroying the fucking whole ground, has a mini stun to also cancel abilities, which is very strong. The Panda is kind of similar to the Demon Hunter. He has also the evasion ability, has for sure a way better ultimate, and with Breath of Fire and Drunken Haze, you can also damage not only the front, but also the backline. Dark Ranger is for me clear S tier, very strong, gives you really also high damage output. You can stack waves really well with her. He's really picked a lot because with the Dark Arrow, you get not only damage on your attacks. If you kill an enemy unit, you also get a skeleton, which is basically as strong as a fucking footman. The Alchemist is a decent hero in my opinion. You can definitely pick him, but we have just better heroes. The healing and also minus armor gives you really also a good mid and early game, so definitely a solid pick. The Pit Lord is rather one also of the weaker heroes. Like, I kind of like the Fire Rain. It's kind of like a Blizzard, but the problem is that he's a melee hero. So he will not stay in the backline to cast the fire like all day long. He will just cast fire, then go in and then dies. Beastmaster is very similar to the Keeper of the Light because it summons, guys. So if your enemy has Dispel, this hero is fucking garbage. But if the enemy has no Dispel, then he's wrecking everything. The ultimate is also very strong, destroys the whole ground, but in the most games, especially in higher MMR, they will have Dispel. So this hero is not good. The Naga is just a hero I learned to love, guys. I think this Naga is probably also a bit underrated. I think she's very good from early to mid game. Also really good tempo hero. Kind of similar to the Farseer, but just with a worse ultimate. Fork Lightning is just dealing insane damage. Also, W on Frost Arrow gives you additional damage and also slows down especially melee heroes. So Naga, my opinion, also S tier. The Tinker is kind of similar to the Alchemist. He's a solid hero, but he's just too weak to be a really good one. So you can play with Rockets and Pocket Factory. You can have a good time with him, but if there are better heroes, you should definitely not pick him. Here's the overview about my current hero tier list. Tell me in the comments below, guys, what do you think are the best heroes and why? If you like the video, then subscribe and like there, guys. Thanks!